She lied about raising us. I expose her at my baby shower. My name is Aiden, and if you ask my mother, she'd tell you she raised two kids on her own after the divorce. If you ask me, I'd tell you I learned how to boil rice at 8 because nobody else would. My parents split when I was 6. After the judge stamped a schedule, life turned into a rotating door. Dad's place felt like a checklist done right. Mom's place felt like a checklist I had to write. Dad handled forms, school pickups, permission slips, grocery runs. He didn't give speeches about responsibility. He just modeled it. We ate, cleaned up, did homework, slept. Mom said the divorce broke her, said Dad's affair hollowed out the center, and she needed to reclaim a life. On her nights, she put on mascara, texted me back soon, and left me with my 4-year-old little brother, Liam. I learned bedtimes and bus numbers, which locker combinations stuck and which needed a shove, how to set out clothes, move a load from washer to dryer, sign reading logs with a practice parent signature when the real parent was at McCarthy's bar. By 14, nobody had to tell me anything. I was the one telling alarm clocks when to ring, backpacks what to carry, and my brain what to remember. Liam needed rides, signatures, lunches, and someone to make sure the lights went off at a reasonable hour. Mom texted soon, and then running late, and then nothing. I stopped waiting up. Sleep deprivation and algebra are a cruel couple. Dad never trashed Mom. Not once. He paid support, kept his lane, asked you good. I lied and said yes, because the truth would mean court would mean drama, and drama would mean the same schedule with more yelling. I chose the path where I could keep control of what I could control. Meals that stretched, routines that held, a boy who got his little brother to school in a clean shirt. I taught myself how to make fast look like dinner. Eggs over rice, rotisserie chicken repurposed 3 ways, pasta with whatever lived in the freezer. Leftover rice in the fridge was a miracle. Add anything and it became a meal that didn't start from zero. None of it felt heroic. It felt like avoiding emergencies. I missed parties and games because leaving Liam alone meant he was alone. I knew what it felt like to sit in a quiet apartment counting minutes. I wouldn't hand that feeling to him. When senior year asked a college question, I said no to dorms and yes to community classes. Dad offered to push for more time. I told him he could try, but I didn't want a custody war that changed nothing. I stayed, worked close to home, kept my brother's orbit steady until he got his license, and started staying most nights with Dad. I finally moved to a small place with a roommate. Habits followed me like loyal dogs. Lists on the fridge, timers on my phone, food math in my head. But I also learned to breathe, the kind of breathing you do when you're not listening for keys in a door that might not turn. Fast forward. I'm 27. My partner, Maya, and I are expecting our first baby. We plan a small, microphones-free baby shower. Dad comes and keeps to the script. Hugs, help, no speeches. Mom arrives with friends and a story she has told 100 times to people who weren't there. She says she raised us alone after Dad cheated and left. She says she sacrificed everything. Heads nod. My father is within earshot and says nothing because that's who he is. I look around and do the math. Either I interrupt and drag the truth into the daylight once, or I let the lie plant roots and spend years pulling weeds in smaller rooms. I chose daylight. I said clearly, I raised myself and my brother on your nights. Dad paid support and showed up. If anyone wants to know who cooked, signed forms called the bus line, sat in clinics, met teachers, and made sure there was food, they can talk to me. The room reset. Mom called me ungrateful and stormed out with her entourage. She texted the next day. I'd crossed a boundary and owed her an apology. I didn't reply. An apology would be me stepping back into the job of managing her feelings. I'm retired from that job. We set postpartum rules. Schedule visits only, no drop-ins, no photos posted without consent, start and end times that protect naps and sanity. Dad said, got it, what else? Mom said nothing. A week before the due date, Mom asked to meet near her place. She said she thought about the shower and could see how her words were wrong. She admitted leaving us alone, using bars and friends to cope, skipping therapy out of cost and shame. She asked for a chance to be a present grandmother. I told her awareness is step one. Trust is built with small, consistent actions over time. I'm not her therapist. If she wants help, she can seek it. Professionals exist. I laid out visit rules and consequences. She cried. I didn't fill the silence for her. That, too, is a retirement perk. Dad stopped by with a bag of groceries and a grounding apology, ashamed about the affair. Sorry he didn't push harder back then because he feared court would make it worse. I told him our family cannot survive living in the rearview mirror. If he starts over-functioning out of guilt, I'll say so. He said, please do. Babies have a way of turning plans into checklists that actually matter. Maya and I wrote ours on the fridge. Meal drop-offs on set days, quiet days with no visits, and a how-to-help list that didn't include hold a baby while we host you. Dishes, laundry, trash, pharmacy runs. If you needed a script, the board gave you one. Mom texted that she would respect the rules. No friends, no speeches, no posting. I asked her to also confirm arrive and leave on time, and ask before picking up the baby. She wrote yes. I kept the thread short. Long texts are where old grudges sneak in with suitcases. Labor went as expected. Pain, monitors, decisions, jokes that weren't funny but helped. And we kept the hospital room quiet. Dad visited during hours, held his grandchild, asked for a task, and went to our apartment to fix a loose cabinet hinge because he can't help being a fixer who actually fixes. Mom came during her window the next day with diapers and wipes, asked to hold the baby, didn't touch her phone without asking, and left when her timer chimed. It was the first time in years I didn't feel like I was steering a conversation around her mood. At home, the system worked. People came, did the task on the board, and left. If they followed the plan, they were invited back. If they defaulted to rock the baby and tell long stories, their windows got smaller. Not punishment, protection. 2 weeks in, Mom texted that she completed an intake and attended her first therapy session. She said it was hard hearing her patterns named. The therapist asked how she coped after the divorce and how that affected us. She said she realized she'd told herself a story where she was a hero, even when facts didn't apply. I replied, I hear you. I'll watch what you do next. Childcare boundaries were explicit. Solo caregiving only for Dad, my brother Liam, now 25 and rock solid, and 2 close friends. Mom's role, visits with me present, practical help, no improvising. She asked if she could walk the stroller around the block with me. We did 1 loop together. It was fine because I set the pace. Money came up. Mom offered to buy things. I asked for a small monthly transfer to the baby's future account and to coordinate purchases, so we didn't drown in giant items we didn't need. She agreed. Consumables over clutter. During visits, she read aloud while I napped, folded laundry, washed bottles. Useful beats grand gestures. I had a parallel talk with Dad. No grading Mom on a curve because of guilt. No pressure on me to be grateful for basic follow-through. He nodded. He runs errands, changes a light switch, logs what he did on the fridge whiteboard, and exits. Low drama, high function. Extended family floated predictable commentary. Life is short. Forgive fast, get the family photo. I answer the same way every time. I'm running a newborn household, not a forgiveness pageant. Help or step aside. We stress-tested the rules at Maya's family's naming ceremony. We told both sides. No speeches, no toast to the past, short visits. A relative thanked both grandparents for raising such a good man. And the room tilted toward microphones that didn't exist. Mom inhaled like a person about to monologue. I shook my head once. We're keeping this focused on the baby. She closed her mouth. The event moved on. It sounds small. It wasn't. A week later, Mom arrived 15 minutes late and asked to extend to make up her minutes. I said no. Nap windows aren't a rubber band. They're a cliff. She blamed traffic. I said life has traffic. Consistency is the point. She left on time and didn't push. I logged it, data point. Then came the first hard stop. At a cousin's dinner, not in our home. I heard Mom telling someone, softly but clearly, that people don't understand the cost of betrayal, and she did what she had to do to survive. I walked over and said, this topic is off limits. If it continues, we're leaving. She said she was just making conversation. We packed a diaper bag, thanked the host, and left. Later, I emailed. Visits paused for 2 weeks. One more public history speech resets you to 0. She apologized the next day and didn't argue. When the pause ended, she showed up, did the work, left on time. Liam stepped into uncle mode like he'd been waiting to exhale. He comes on Saturdays, cooks a big pot, portions it into label containers, runs a dishwasher, puts bottles to dry, wipes surfaces, and orders me to sleep. Watching him help without carrying my old weight made me want to put metal on the fridge that said we broke a cycle. 2 months passed. Mom kept therapy, by her report, hit most visit windows on time, missed 2, gave notice on 1, none on the other. I didn't reschedule the no-notice miss and pushed the next window a week. She accepted it. After that, she started arriving early and waiting in the car until the exact start time. Another data point. Inside our apartment, she stuck to tasks, asked before touching anything baby-related, and when she slipped once trying to improve, a swaddle. Stop when I said stop. We were not friends. We were adults in a room, following rules that protected a small human. Dad kept everything boring in the best way. No grand gestures, no guilt talks. Once he started to drift into a fair era regret while I was bottle feeding. I said I didn't have bandwidth for that topic mid-feed. Maybe later. He said, no problem, washed bottles, and moved on. This is what healthy looks like sometimes, not emotional fireworks. Quiet competence. People kept angling for one nice family photo with both grandparents. I said no, separate pictures or none. My priority is my kid's schedule, not someone else's album. Then came a bigger test, Maya's cousin's backyard birthday. Both my parents were invited for a short window. We copy-pasted the rules to the group chat. No speeches, no toasts, short visits. Respect the nap. The afternoon went fine until an aunt complimented my parents for raising such a resilient young man. And everyone turned their faces toward the weather system they expected next. Mom looked at me, at the crowd, at her old exit ramp. I held her gaze. She swallowed whatever story climbed her tongue, and the conversation shifted to cupcakes. I exhaled for a decade. Around then, messages trickled in from relatives taking sides. Some said, I humiliated my mother at the shower. Some said, she had it coming. I didn't participate in the tug-of-war. I repeated the same boundary to all. We're not hosting the past. If you need a story to soothe your discomfort, tell in your own house, not in mine. A month later, Mom asked if she could take the stroller out solo for 15 minutes while I rested on the couch. The old me would have analyzed that request for hours. The current me asked myself 2 questions. 1, has she shown consistency long enough to extend trust beyond my line of sight? 2, do I have a clear, enforceable consequence if she breaks a rule outside my view? I said, not yet. Let's add more in apartment hours first. She nodded. No dramatics. That alone was evidence the system was working. What about birthdays and school events down the road? Alternate or combine? My gut says alternate, at least for a while. Shared rooms invite microphones. Microwaves are fine. Microphones are not. Life didn't turn into a montage. There were scrapes. One late arrival. One slip about surviving betrayal. A cousin fishing for reconciliation arcs. Each time, I enforced the rule I'd chosen when I stopped waiting up for a door that didn't open. Truth without a microphone. Boundaries with stopwatch. Help measured in tasks, not tales. Mom keeps showing small steps. Therapy, chores, not performances. No photos without asking. No retelling of the hero story. I notice them, and I keep the guardrails. Both can be true. Dad keeps being the guy who fixes what squeaks, logs on the board, and leaves the room better than he found it. That's the grandfather my kid will know first. The one who shows up with batteries and cherries and no speeches. Liam, my little brother who used to fall asleep to the sound of my keys, now tells me to sleep. He takes the late bottle, stacks the dishwasher like a Tetris savant, and labels containers like a man who knows Wednesday Aiden appreciates Monday Liam. We high-five over the sink and both feel something unclench. People ask if I'll ever declare my mother forgiven. I don't run a scoreboard. I run a house. Apologies are receipts. Behavior over time is the balance. I'm done doing emotional accounting for other people. I'm raising a child who deserves predictability more than a cinematic reunion. Here's what I know. I wasn't raised in the way the story gets told at parties. I raised us. And now I'm raising my kid in a home where love looks like clean bottles, on-time goodbyes, and the courage to say no to narratives that don't feed anybody. If there's a moral, it's this. Boundaries don't break families. Lies do. Boundaries give families a chance to try again with the truth. And if my mother wanted a place in that truth, there's a timer on the counter and a list on the fridge. She knows where to start.